All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to the podcast / YouTube channel. Call it what you want. My name is Shraii.
I am DJ Rugrat.
And this is basically a podcast, a YouTube series, if you like, just to demonstrate our wedding experience or the wedding experience through a DJ's eyes.
That's right, we're here to educate you.
As you can see, professional as ever. We've gone for the... Well, you got there...
I've got a old-fashioned cocktail. So we are at Kanishka in Mayfair. So
Yes.
we're actually doing our Christmas party here after. So it worked out really well. Very convenient, I would say.
Yeah.
And Shraii being the DJ that he is, he's basically made me have a drink, literally.
I mean, bro,
it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I think it's acceptable.
That's all right, yeah. If I was here on time, then it would be unacceptable.
He was only 1 hour late, so...
1 hour late? That's... I mean, I'm never late for weddings, by the way.
That's the main thing. You can be late for clubs,
Yeah,
I guess,
you can.
and you can get away with it to some capacity, and
Exactly.
the DJ will play before you.
So the idea with is to basically discuss certain aspects of weddings or our whole wedding experience, from civils to ceremonies to first dance songs to all of that kind of thing, one episode at a time. So today, what are we talking about today?
I think we've got quite a few topics, and I think actually the one I would like to touch on first is how do you deal with the one last song kind of approach to things?
One last song.
Because for
Okay.
me as a DJ, perhaps it's probably one of the hardest parts of the evening that I dread the most.
All right, so talk me through it. It's let's say the venue closed at 12. It's 11:45. What's in your head?
So I tell all my bride and grooms all the time, please let me know the last 3 songs for the evening.
So you give them the choice.
I give them a choice. That I want them to know when we're going to finish, but I also let them know at 12:45, give or take. If you're, for example, 12:45, if it's a 1 o'clock finish, I will start making an announcement that the next song is the last song.
So you see how we delayed it by an hour already?
Yeah. I will say the next song is the last song, but I let the bride
So at
and groom
quarter
know.
2, you're saying one more song.
One more song.
Okay.
So then I can allow them to say one more song. Because if I don't allow that opportunity and I finish on
hate
time
you.
at 1 o'clock,
You're hated.
I'm basically I get verbal abuse.
Yeah.
We
You have to.
people get aggressive.
Yeah, you have to leave.
And
the
then
venue.
you got the venue staff and the security standing there watching you, not getting involved, saying,
Yeah.
you know your contract signed with us, you're meant to finish.
Yeah.
at
This is the thing.
Set
People
time.
always come over and they're like, "Oh, we'll pay you £100, or here's £20. I'm gonna play another song." And it's like, I would love to take your money. I really would. I really would, because that's like Uber home or whatever. Yeah, but I can't because A, we're contracted to a venue, and B, the bride and groom essentially would have to pay a fine if they exceeded the time that they were contracted to the venue as well. So it's not really in our power.
No, it's not. I agree.
And essentially, they can cut the power off, literally pull the plug.
Do you know what?
if they
I
wanted
think
to.
I've heard horrendous stories from other companies that have been blacklisted from venues because of not finishing on time,
Yeah.
because they've had to switch off the plug. But when you can end a night nicely,
Yeah.
and you end the night, because what really is, it can be quite frustrating when you have people in the audience requesting a specific song, and we've kind of told them we've been requested to play a set song. We've gone through this with the bride and groom,
Yeah.
right? Because the whole process is about the bride and
Yeah,
groom.
exactly.
And someone wants to hear another song that kind of doesn't go. People sometimes, again, I never understood this concept, right? People want to end on a hype or drum and bass track or a garage track right at the
Yeah,
end.
I don't get that either.
When you want to involve your families, like for me, I like ending on Bob Marley. If anyone ever asks me what's the best song to play as a finishing song, is Bob Marley. The most
I
overplayed
usually
is
do,
Wonderwall.
One Love.
Well, One Love as in Bob Marley, but the most overplayed one is Wonderwall.
Wonderwall, yeah, okay, yeah. Wonderwall's a bit boring now, isn't it?
I like it. I still like it. To
Dancing
be
in
fair,
the
It's still classic.
Moonlight, all
Dancing in the
those,
Moonlight, yeah.
To be honest, what I do, kind of similar. I do ask the bride and groom, but then, so I'll play their 3 tracks at, say, 22 or quarter 2. I'll play their 3 tracks, and then it's that time for one more song when there's about 5-6 minutes to go. That's when I'll play One Love by Bob Marley, and then that's only 2 minutes 40 something, so it's 3 minutes long, right? So there's still 2 minutes left. So I will either, depending on the crowd, I'll either end on Ye Dosti, because that works quite well.
Yeah.
If it's more of a Bollywood crowd, but if it's more of a Western, crowd, then I'll usually go for Craig David, 7 Days, right at the end.
Interesting. 7
Always.
days, yeah?
Everyone loves it.
Yeah, I mean, what do you do after you finish?
I just go outside.
Do you? 'Cause
I play it.
I tried to
leave.
do that. You know
Yeah.
what? I got in the habit of saying, yeah, this is the last song. Thank you guys. Make some noise for the bride and group. And then I tried to make an exit so that I don't get shouted at.
Yeah.
And that doesn't play a factor.
No, I
into it.
leave the boys that are doing the lights or whatever. I leave them with the decks. I told them this is the fader.
You leave them for the abuse.
Yeah,
You-
I'm out. I'm gone. And I'll come back 10 minutes later and give my hand or whatever. But yeah, I just
You know
need
what?
to disappear for 10 minutes.
I've actually left and come back to find someone else on my laptop playing the song, trying to find songs and things like
but
that.
actually, I do say to the venues, I always say to them, at 10:02, I need one security next to me, and I need the lights on. Otherwise, no one's gonna leave.
Yeah,
I tell every venue, any manager or if there's a caterer in charge, I'll tell all of them, I need one person from the venue. I need the lights on 10 minutes to go. Yeah. Not because I want to end the party, it's because if you turn the lights on at 2 minutes to, no one's gonna leave, and the bride and groom end up getting fined.
But what I don't understand is, why do people think it's acceptable to basically say, keep playing, when you know your contract is ended at a certain time with the venue? It's like, I don't go to someone's job and say, listen, just carry on playing.
Yeah.
Like,
you don't go to watch a football match and say to Ronaldo, like, oh, can you do another half hour?
It's like, as much as you mention it, like, it's not a problem about playing the music or extending time or being there for longer.
If we were booked till 3 a.m.,
we'll play until 3.
We'll charge you whatever it is, and we'll play till 3 a.m. No worries.
But the reality, London venues, especially, majority of them are likely to finish at 12.
Do you know that's
if you're
so
lucky,
mad.
if you're lucky, 1 or 2.
Bro, this is so mad, yeah. So this, obviously, since July 19th, we've been back from the pandemic and stuff. It was July 19th, isn't it? The first day, I think it was.
How the hell do you remember that day?
Bro, I was waiting for it like a.
I thought you said we're not allowed to say pandemic and COVID in this podcast.
I said COVID, but you said it now. It's fine. I said pandemic.
You said podomatic.
Bro, I said podcast. In the first take, I said podcast. And what I was saying is, so since July 19th, we've had a bunch of weddings. Not as, you know, it's been mad, but I'd say the I don't know, 15, 20 weddings that I've done this side of that date, they've majority finished at 11:30.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just coincidence, or have you noticed that the timing is getting earlier?
For some time, but that's because a lot of them are midweek, right? A lot of the midweek venues, like, because naturally with the whole back end of what's happened with the pandemic. So what I've noticed is a lot of the weddings have been midweek, and when you've got a midweek venue, they tend to finish earlier. You don't tend to get the later licenses with them. But I remember one of the bookings you was at finished at like 3 or 4 in the morning.
Yeah, that was really messy. That was in the house.
Okay, that was in the house, was it?
So you know what? Yeah, I have to say I've done I've done about 20 weddings since that. Since our Day of Freedom, whatever, right? And it's now what it's 1st December. Jesus Christ, man. Someone's on the phone. This is the joys of being in a restaurant. So basically, these I live in northwest London, and I had a Saturday and a Sunday, which was a bank holiday. Both of them at house. One was in Northwood, and one was in Stanmore. And I was like, this is so weird. Like, they're both next to each other on the same weekend, and I live next door to both of them. It was so random, and they both finished at 3 in the morning, and they were both. I hate to say it because the other couples, I loved every single wedding that I'd done was incredible. I done a destination one, which was amazing as well, but those two were the best.
Yeah,
I think that's because it went on so late, and obviously by about 1, 2, everyone was completely smashed, and it was just a vibe, and it was very Western towards the end. Started off with Bollywood. I played bit of Motown, like, you can play everything when you have that much time.
You've got time, because if you finish at 3, it's the same thing. Like, some of the parties I've done this year that have gone on until 3, I think I've got a lot more positive feedback. People got to have the opportunity to party for longer with more genres of music. And again, the only downside to that is people get too drunk. And then what I find in some of the venues I'm at is there's not enough security, and there's maybe
in a house party.
In a house party, or some of the venues, because
when I say house party, I mean wedding at a house.
Weddings at a house, which has been popular this year.
Or even Mendy nights or whatever.
Yeah. And it's only like 1 or 2 people that are like quite over that limit, and you kind of standing there trying your best to entertain the crowd, and you got one person just saying something completely different.
Yeah.
Like trying to hear something you don't feel is
said, you know, you have to close at 2:30, and then the bride and groom come, they're like, no, you're going till 3. And the bridesmaid come over and say, oh, we got a noise complaint, and then someone's like, oh, the police outside. It's like, oh my God, can I play or not?
Literally, all you want to do is be left alone to play and do what you need to do, and be told, look, this is the time you're playing until. You finish at 3, then it's fine. But sometimes, like with destination wedding, they don't tell you what time you finish. They say you can keep playing, and it's like that's fine. But how do you structure it as well as you like to? But more important, how do you factor it all in? Because
this is the thing.
It's standing up, playing music is training at times.
I think
that like
we'll touch on
getting old.
What do you say?
I'm saying that, and I'm starting thinking that it must be my age factor. I hope do you have the same struggle?
No, I do. You know what I said to you the other day? I was like, bro, I can't do a longer set than 2.5 hours at a wedding. I can't do it. Not because of fatigue or being tired. I'm just like, it's a wedding. You got a 3-year-old and you got a 95-year-old and you got everything in between. And then you got people that hate Bollywood, people that love Bollywood, people that love Bhangra, people that hate Bhangra. You got all these different, and you got the middle-aged people that want the Motown, the old school stuff, and you're just like, okay, you have so much to play, but that doesn't mean that everyone will be on the dance floor the whole time. So to keep everyone on the dance floor, you have to play those generic songs that everyone knows to keep everyone on the dance floor the whole time. And I don't think you can do that for more than 2.5 hours max.
I think 2.5 hours. I think is actually a really good time frame.
I always say that.
It's like as in a minimum. I always say like when I look at running orders and I'm factoring in things and bride and groom ask me any questions, I would always say for a really good party you need a minimum of 2 hours of partying, and then that's kind of enough. But anything less than that, really that whole one last song. If you do a party for a DJ set for 1 hour at a wedding reception, you will be shouted at for one last song, because if things overplay just when the party kind of starts and the guests are into it, you're kind of finishing the party.
Well, that's the thing, yeah, exactly. What I always say to people, like, or brides and grooms to be, I always say, look, if you go to a nightclub, you're going to get there around 11:30. You're going to leave around 2. So that's really 3 hours, right? And then if you leave to go to the smoking area or to the bar, you're really only dancing for 2 hours max if you go to a nightclub. And so why is it different for a wedding? Like 2.5 hours is plenty of time, I think. You say minimum 2 hours. I think that's 2.5 hours is plenty of time.
It's the right amount of time. Yeah, I guess so. But I guess that whole time factor into it really affects how the night ends.
Yeah. And I think that's it, exactly. So that you touched on it earlier, like a lot of DJs like to end on hype. But I just don't get that.
No.
I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
No,
because how do you end a party playing like one of the biggest songs and then be like, all right, cool, everybody go home.
I've seen people,
thank you.
The last song turned down for what? And I'm like, how have you done that?
Do you know what a really good way to end the night is? In my opinion, perhaps the best way to end the night is have a food truck outside with food and say, look,
That's a good idea,
this is the end of the evening. For us, as a kind of the best way for us to end the night, if we can say, let the music stop, doesn't mean that the whole party has to stop. There's food outside, and if I try my best to find out if anyone's having an after party, and I can just simply say, look, there's an after party, and if it's at a hotel and the hotel has a bar that's open.
Yeah, or they've got one of the suites. They're doing a drink up in the whatever. Yeah, that makes sense.
Even the other day, I was in Leicester, and we done a wedding there that finished about I think 12:30. We were right in Leicester city centre, and as a result of us being right in the centre, there was so many bars and clubs and stuff open until 4 o'clock. So it was good on that front because they got the opportunity.
What time did you finish?
Well, we finished at 12:30, and then we went to a bar, and that bar closed at 4.
Oh, you went to the bar as well?
I went to the bar as well. Yeah.
That's, you know what? I do like partying with the bride and groom. I do like that, like having a drink with them, whatever. Like, I think that's the whole relationship that you have with the bride and groom, from when they've booked you till, like, I still speak to a lot of bride and grooms that I've done 4 or 5 years ago. Like, I know one particular client I speak to. I'm gonna say their names, Hina and Kailesh, right? So he's a massive Liverpool fan like me. But I did his wedding, I think it was September 2017 or 2018. And it's 2021 now, I'll still go to watch games with him to the pub. I'll go to the pub, watch a game with him. Still to this day.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's good because it's the same thing
and
with
the
me.
missus comes as well, yeah.
And I think, you know what, saying that, it's a lot of DJs I know that are on a similar basis. I think when you kind of part of that big journey with them, you're going through the running,
that's the biggest day of their life,
etc. Yeah,
maybe his was Champions League final, but probably the biggest day of his life.
And I guess we also find that we play for a lot of this similar friend circles. Like I know with me, a lot of the weddings I do, a lot of the guests that I tend to see are friends of each other.
Yeah, exactly. You see a lot of the same brides.
But it helps. Sense. It helps with the whole chemistry. You don't feel like an absolute stranger when you're walking into the wedding reception.
But you do feel like you have to change your setup a bit.
You got to change your setup a bit. Well, how much do they remember that? That's the reality.
Because if you're playing like, I don't know.
If we play the exact same set at every single wedding.
You got to change it up, man. You have to. I don't know, how many songs do you get through? Do you even know?
Not really.
150, I don't know.
I would have thought somewhere around that.
Yeah. I sometimes at the end of the month I'll just review what I've been playing, like, and I'll try and average it out, like what have I played the most, because you can do that on Serato, you can see what you've played. So I'll check what I've played a lot, and I'll try not to play that song at the next wedding, or try and wait a few weddings till I play it again. Cause
You know what? Yeah, that's interesting because I mean, for me, I think the main thing that really varies in most of my sets is more so the background music that I tend to play, depending on
background
the
is
style
so
of it.
important.
But I think the party side of things, that kind of is easier. Like, but the background music, I have much more fun playing than the actual party.
Yeah. So you know what? Actually, funny you say that. So on Saturday we had a dance company come in to do a few performances, and I knew them from other gigs and stuff. So they came to the DJ booth. So there was two girls, two guys, which I know very well from previous gigs, and then I had my two guys with me, and we were all having a drink. Like I think it was the mains, or I think actually you know what? It was desserts, and we were having a drink. And desserts or the end of mains / desserts is when I usually play like the bangers during the background, like as in the background selection I have. The best ones out of that. I'm not saying bangers that I play on the dance floor. I'm saying the best background songs I'd have. And I was playing it, and you just notice people like nodding their head and singing along. And a couple of guys and girls got up, and the dancers were like, "What is this playlist? We need to get it." And like I was like, "Yeah, cool." So I think background is key. Like background is so important
know what?
to set the vibe.
I agree. If you think about it, like you said, right? If you've got 2.5 hours of the party set, give or take, you've got over 2.5 hours where the guests are going to be kind of having dinner starters, and kind of. You're kind of building up that vibe, and I think from the get-go, once people are walking into the room and you set the tone with the music, and you're playing songs that they know, like whether it be, I don't know, if it's an R&B fan and you're playing like Genuine or Casey and JoJo or something during dinner or something along those lines, you can see on the tables, you can see their reaction when you know what kind of age range they are.
But I think collectively we've shared each other's background stuff. Like I feel like it's unbeatable, bro.
I can tell you, I think, honestly speaking, we have the best background music
in the world.
Literally.
In the world.
Like, every time I go anywhere, if I go to a restaurant, if I go to a hotel, wherever I am, I'll always pay attention and listen to the music.
Yeah.
And even then, I think the playlist we've accumulated or created is
People
phenomenal.
come up to me every single time. Like, at least one person will come up to me and say, "What was that playlist?"
I bet you play a lot of Michael Jackson in your playlist. Though.
Yeah, of course, obviously. No, do you know what? So I've got acoustics, I've got instrumentals, I've got jazz versions of certain big tracks, but they're all well-known songs, and it might, like, as a non-DJ, as a regular guest, you might be like, "Oh no, I know this song, like, I've heard it somewhere," and then you realise, oh, it's Hot in Here, whatever.
It's a cover,
and you're like, "Oh yeah," and then you start nodding your head, and then the DJ's looking at you, and you're like, "Yeah, like this is working," and then they're ready to dance. If you have some dead background music, or you're playing like, you said Michael Jackson. If you're playing like Liberian Girl by Michael Jackson background music, that was 20 years ago. Now you got to play like Drake. But
I've got some good covers.
Yeah. I think you sent me some. I think Hotline Bling and Hold On, You're Coming Home and all that stuff. Hold On, We're Going Home rather. But yeah, I think background is key, man. 100%. Definitely the most important part of the whole vibe is background music. I always stress that to Wise and Group. Always.
No, indeed. Interesting, because like, you know, what we start off with the conversation with initially from the beginning of the podcast is how do we go about dealing with the last songs, and we're now discussing the background songs as kind of how important they are and how important it is to end on such a good note, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Because that's how an event should start. It should start kind of, the momentum builds up.
Yeah.
You have your peak set, and then the momentum comes down, and the guests can kind of
this starts the second they come in, when there's a drinks reception. I always suggest having like a live instrument, like whether it's guitar or piano or sax or violin, whatever, or steel pans even. I will try. So they will do the drink reception, and then when the guests walk into the main room, I will try and play background music that has the same instrument. So like, because we have the collection of all of those main instruments that people use, I'll try and play like half an hour of the same. So like, even if it's steel pans outside, when they walk in, I'll put steel pan covers on. Just so it's
funny you say that, because I was just thinking of a conversation I had with a saxophone player, right? And the saxophone player was saying to me, he goes, "What's the song that I'm going to be playing as the guests are walking in, or what song am I playing for the bride and groom entrance song?" And the songs that always get picked for most saxophone players, for example, is a song that has saxophone already on there. So he's like, "What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to mime it? Like, am I meant to play saxophone over a song that's got saxophone? I can never match the exact notes of it."
Jubel, always.
Jubel, yeah, exactly. And it's interesting, because I was thinking about that. I was like, it's true. And why would you book a saxophone player but tell him to play over a song that's got saxophone already on there?
Well, I used to play violin, and I was so bad at it. And then I got to like grade 3 or something, but I realised I missed out on when I learned the instrument was that you can play hip hop, you can play R&B, and that's what these musicians are doing now, and it's so sick. Like,
No, yeah, you're right.
it's
Some
really
of these
cool.
musicians are really good, but also get some of the music. I tell you what's really frustrating when you're seeing it. So if a musician comes and they've got their playlist and it's on a phone and they're playing their song off the phone, but it's not like kind of mixed. It's just one song plays and then it ends. Like there's like a 3-second gap between the intro to the next song, and it's like it's a bit of a vibe kill. I think sometimes. But that's from a DJ perspective.
Well, I was going to say actually, as a DJ, so when you're doing your background, you don't have any silence.
Never.
Okay, interesting. I do.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I do.
I don't have gaps in between anything.
I wouldn't say silence, but like it's like they overlap the end.
Then you can hear knives and forks. Well, I guess they're having dinner. Even in restaurants. If I go to restaurants sometimes and I go there and there's no music playing, I get really frustrated because all I hear is knives and forks and
stuff. Yeah, I get that. But it'll be like one song ends, like, and then they're all covers. So like, I feel like you can't really. I suppose you can mix covers. It can be done, but it's.
You can mix it in such a way where it's not necessarily blended as such, but it's kind of a transition between one song to the other.
Yeah,
for me, anyway, like I was saying, for me, I enjoy that section. It's that kind of like downtime. It's like after the whole.
Because you know, there's that button.
Setup.
Sorry, carry on. Go on.
No, I was just gonna say, like, when you sort of at a venue, you've done all the setup, etc., everything more or less in place. I can kind of zone out more so toward the background music because it doesn't feel so intense. Because then after that, when the party starts itself, then you've got the photographers with their flashlights, usually just directed straight in our faces.
And don't get me started. Ask any video or photographer that I've worked with in the last how many years. I always say to them, "Are you gonna have flash on the dance floors?" And they all say yes. And I'm like, "Okay, how long for?" And they're like, "Till the end, or half an hour to the end." I'm like, the way I say it is, I get it. You need to get your shots and your video. I totally understand that. And Sean here is probably.
Sean's probably questioning us thinking right now, what are you guys going to say?
Yeah, I get it. You need to get your footage and your shots, of course. But, like, I always flip it. I said, would you dance at a wedding if I put a flash in your face?
It's a floodlight right there.
Yeah.
On you four dance? Corners of the dance floor.
Would you dance?
Like, imagine this. Imagine what I don't understand, right? We've discussed the whole package with the bride and groom. We've created ambient lighting. We've got up lighting. We've got all of the lighting in motion. Yeah. And then we're washed with floodlights on every corner of the dance floor. And sometimes from the beginning to the end of the evening. And it's sort of like, again, I understand the importance of it, but sometimes...
I don't know. I don't know anything about cameras. Like, can't they just use a flash? I don't know. Or like one of them things that they can carry around. I don't know.
Well, some of them do. You know what? Some of them just film, right? And kind of just capture the moment, and it's not so staged, or they don't encourage people to pretend to do anything, pretend to have fun, or anything along those lines, right? It's sort of like, just let them do what they're doing, let their hair down. And I have clients that say to me, do you know what? All I want to do is have a rave. Straight after the first dance, I want it to really be a big party. What's your advice? My advice is create the ambience within the rooms. Like, make it as dark as possible where possible.
Just briefly, I always say to venue managers or caterers who are in charge of the house lights, I always say, first dance, dim everything. As soon as it's done, everything off, leave my lights on, that's it.
Yeah, I agree. I think after the first dance...
Why do you need house lights on? You don't need them on.
No, sometimes even when guests walk into some of the rooms, you've got chandeliers on, then you've got uplights on, then you've got the moving headlights. So sometimes you don't need it. If you've got production lighting, you've got a lot of the lighting already in motion.
I think chandeliers are fine for dinner and our lights. That's it. So do you feel like you need to drink at weddings? Or...
No, I wouldn't.
The way you pause.
I wouldn't say that I would need to drink at weddings. I think at times it does help because sometimes I get a lot of anxiety when I play, or sometimes I kind of feel like I'm disrespecting someone by not accepting their drink, and then sometimes I'm forced to drink.
Someone asks you, like, do you want to drink?
Yeah, but I definitely think that...
Especially if you've done their wedding, like this a guest of the bride and groom who you've done their wedding, and they're like, oh, have a drink with us.
A lot of mixed reviews based on... No,
because some DJs will abuse it and drink too much, and then they don't know what they're doing. Some DJs will say, I'm not having a sip, and then they're too, like, stiff with it. Like,
the interesting thing is, what it all comes down to, again, is how a DJ tends to end the night on the one last song. Because what I notice, if I'm at another wedding, for example, and I know a lot of other DJs, some of them drink, some of them don't drink, but when it comes down to sort of finishing, they kind of treat it in a very sort of structured approach, right? It's like, all right, cool, I start at this time, finish at this time, that's that. Whereas other DJs are kind of like, sometimes encouraging the last song. Oh, you want one more song? You want one more song? Shout my name, all of that, and then I'll play one more song, right? And some of them do that on like after the finishing time. Now, I'm scared.
Yeah.
I tell you the truth. I don't like finishing after a set time because I know the backlash of what's happened in the past. In my earlier stages, the kind of response that we've had from venues, people that got upset on the basis of that. So I know from the business perspective, it's a bad idea for us to attempt to finish any later than the finishing time. But I do wish people just respected that and kind of said, cool, look guys, you finish at 1, finish.
I get that, and I know what you're saying. Like we're booked till 1 or 12 or 11, whatever it is, and that's it. It's not in our hands. Like we said at the beginning of the podcast, it's not in our hands. It's literally not like they will pull the plug out the wall. Like it's not to do with us. But I think the whole one more song thing is just an Asian wedding thing. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, but don't you find it very disrespectful, or do you encourage it? Are you one of the people on the dance floor shouting one more song when you go to a wedding?
Yeah. If I'm attending, I'm gonna be drunk. So yeah, I'm like,
Yeah, I'm not. I'm the opposite. Yeah. If I see that, I'm like sort of like I kind of feel sorry for him, and I don't
feel sorry.
I don't get involved though. To be honest with you, I wouldn't get involved.
Yeah, this is the thing. As a DJ, you don't want to get involved with another DJ. That is disrespectful.
Yeah.
But that's coming from a DJ. If I was just a guest, which technically I am on that day, no one knows me as DJ Shraii. I'm just Shraii that day, at someone's wedding. I want another song. I want another song. I'm drunk. Like everyone's drunk. We want another song. But then this is the thing, right? So if you're drinking, that's fine, but don't exceed your limit.
No,
that's
agree.
what I would say.
I'm
just end up shouting on the mic and making mistakes and whatever. Like a lot of DJs are better DJs when they're drunk, for sure. When I say drunk, I don't mean
tipsy.
Off their face. Yeah, I mean like 3, 4, 5 doubles. That's cool. Like that's enough.
I'm from 3 to 5.
3, 4, 5. Well,
3, 4,
I have
5.
2 doubles if I'm driving. 2 doubles early, and then I'm good to drive. Other than that, I'll have like 4, 5, and then I'm good.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I mean, sometimes I guess it's kind of based on the vibe, but
and who it is. Like it might be your best mate's wedding. Then it doesn't matter.
That's the other thing. You know what? I never get to attend any of my friends' weddings or events. Like one of my friends actually had an engagement party last week, and because he kind of announced the engagement party just a couple of months ago, naturally we're booked years in advance. It's bad. And once I take a booking, I'm not going to cancel that booking to take another booking or to attend as a guest. And
social lives, we don't have one basically.
But people think we're the most social.
Yeah, we're not. We go to Friday. If we're not doing weddings, we go to a Friday, Saturday nightclub on our own. 9 times out of 10, you do the gig. You have a couple of drinks. And you go.
Yeah, but in a nightclub, do you get people saying one last song or like?
No,
you don't, do you?
No, you don't.
Or you have security that look after the situation and they maintain it, they manage it.
Well, you have so much security around you. No one's allowed to come near you. Half the security nowadays, they don't even let people give a request. Like as soon as they see your phone coming, they'll just move their hand in the way. They're like, no, get back down. So it's different. But that's a nightclub. I feel like a wedding, Asian, it's all like family, like, oh yeah, one more song. And everyone knows the last song is going to be something that everyone can sing along 9 times out of 10, usually. I don't know, man. I think it's just an Asian thing.
I would say like out of very, very rarely does the event kind of just finish and kind of...
Having said that, yeah, you're right. So my last wedding was on, what day is it today? Wednesday. On Saturday was the first time ever in my whole career that a bride and groom have come up to me at like 11, I was closing at 11:30, right? 11:22, 11:23, and they were like, thank you so much, like blah, blah, blah. They even gave us a good review today or yesterday, whatever. And they were like, we have to get everyone out in 8 minutes, so you can just stop playing.
That's good.
I was like, this is sick.
Some venues, they do tell the bride and groom,
you'll be fine, yeah.
You'll be fine. And the thing is this, I think it's important that the bride and groom, they do know from the venue, like, what time do we need to be out of the room? And some of the guests, because what actually does happen, sometimes we're told, all right, you got to finish music at 11:30 and all of your stuff needs to be out by 12. And it's unrealistic. We can't pack down a whole setup in 30 minutes and get out.
And it's not even packed down. People forget it. And again, like I said a million times in this pod, we're going to do podcasts on setups and pack downs and equipment. But to get things like not only packed down, but then into the cases and the right cases and the wires in the right places, that takes an hour minimum. Literally. If you've got a decent sized setup, that takes an hour. Then you got to get it from wherever it is to the van, and then into the van, strapped in. That takes another half an hour. So it's literally a 2.5 hour job sometimes to get going on the road again. And then you got to go to the warehouse, unload everything. That's another whatever it is, however far the venue is. And then you got to go home, and then you might have a ceremony in the morning. It's madness.
The madness. But I think this is a nice finish towards this
Yes.
podcast, and hopefully people will never ask me for one last song again.
I don't mind.
Please.
You can ask me. It's fine.
Please ask him only when you see him. Don't ask me.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate it. It is what it is. I think, but like I said, I think it's important to kind of highlight that because sometimes we know that one last song finishing, for example, at 12 o'clock means we're still not going to get home till 3 or 4 in the morning. By the time we're out of there, got back to the units, and got
earliest,
back,
though. Yeah.
we're not going to get back. And I think sometimes people don't see that.
I don't know about you. I still prep crates on Serato.
Yeah.
So
With their playlist.
Yeah, everything. From the first song I played till the last 3 songs that they've chosen. I'm not saying I plan my set as such. I sort of freestyle my sets, but if there's background music that I need to, I'll ask the bride and groom beforehand. These are the options. Which one would you like? And then I put it in the right folder and all that stuff. That takes time.
But I think that's a beautiful episode 1.
Yeah. So that concludes the podcast episode 1. At this stage, I don't know. Are we liking, sharing? I don't know, man. Do whatever you can. Let people know. Pass the pod, as they say.
As he said.
We'll see you in about 20 minutes. Where are we next week? Peace.
Thank you.